want you to imagine sailing the Mediterranean on a ship full of passengers who share your thirst for history, love of country, gourmet Italian food, great nightlife, and relaxing poolside on the deck. Listen, it sounds enticing, doesn't it? You want to go. Join Glenn Beck, Bill O'Reilly, Stu, David Barton, and Rabbi Levin on a 14-day adventure next spring sailing in the Eastern Mediterranean. You're going to visit Italy, Croatia, Jerusalem, Israel, and Athens and Greece to explore the roots of Western civilization on our cruise through history. No time machine required, just a passport and a desire to share your values with the ones you love. You get to explore Venice, the birthplace of commerce, tour Greece, the origin of the Republic and democracy, walk where Jesus and his disciples shared the gospel that sparked Christianity. Listen, it's going to be a cruise like no other, and Glenn is incredibly excited to share it with you. Bring your children, bring your grandchildren, share this amazing experience. It really is amazing. Show them how the region of the world inspired our Constitution and our founders to create this grand experiment we call and love America. Visit ComeSailAway.com to learn all of the details and different packages. That's ComeSailAway.com. Let's go. It's party time, Mom. You know what that means. We're back in Studio 22. We're hanging out here, and I feel it depends on when you watch this thing. Now, for us personally, of course, this is pre-recorded. I just got back from Ireland, dealing with some jet lag. We had fun. I don't remember any of the trip. Hey, there you go. You're all caught up now. My mother kept saying, "Give me a call. Give me a call." No, Mom, I don't want to talk to you, and not in an Irish condition. You know what I'm saying? So, Party Foul Steve's good to see you, buddy. Sitting over there in the peanut gallery, hanging out, and of course, Hot News Natalie sitting beside you.
Right.
I have to say Steve. It's way better to see Natalie than it is you, Steve.
Thanks.
And well, it just is. I see you every day of my life, nonstop.
Hurts my heart.
I know it does. And, of course, the puppet master himself, Mark, sitting over there at the helm, driving the Starship.
Hey, everybody.
Studio 22. How you been?
I've been pretty good, yeah.
Now, everybody keeps asking us why we didn't have air conditioning, but I'm so thankful to say we have it now. And it feels so much better in this studio.
Yeah, it was a really weird moment. I, walked around the corner, and I was expecting to just get hit with the heat the other day, and it wasn't there. And I was like,
well, it's so fascinating. People don't understand because when you're coming down the hall, coming to the studio, it's nice and cool and everything. But then you about 5 feet from the door, you'd feel that heat just hit you.
Just hit you in the face.
Yeah, and it's just a blast. And so we've been suffering for you folks here on the Chad Prather Show.
Does it help that you had Glenn Beck on the show, and then all of a sudden you have air conditioning?
Yeah, we had Glenn Beck sit in here, and in his last words after I said bye at the end of the thing, he says, "We got to get you out of here." Like, sure, Glenn. My assumption was he walked over to his studio and forgot about us as soon as he got halfway across the parking lot there. But no. So anyway, thanks for your hard work on getting it done, because I don't think it's cold enough in here. We need to drop it down to 50.
Oh, yeah. I sit down.
We need to run the bill up.
Yeah.
Really run the bill up. But anyway, sitting here in the hot seat today, my good friend, and I'm glad to have him on the show, the sheriff of Tarrant County. For those of you who don't know what Tarrant County is, that's the greatest place on the planet. That's the center of the universe. That is Fort Worth, Texas, and the surrounding areas. Sheriff Bill Waybourn, good to see you.
Good to see you, Chad, and it's an honor and privilege to be here with you.
It is. It really is.
Yes, it is. It really is.
When's the last time I saw you? We were doing the fundraiser out at the TX Whiskey place. That's quite a complex there in Fort Worth, isn't it?
It's a great complex and a great addition to the greater Fort Worth area. And Neal McCoy was there with us, and Sonny and Jolie Burgess, and group.
I saw Sonny and Jolie last weekend before last. We did a softball tournament. Natalie was at that. They call it a celebrity softball tournament, but they just had people like us out there raising money for Carry the Load, and it was a blast seeing some of those folks. I saw Sonny and Jolie out there for that. Neal's always a trip. I got to get Neal here. He's been on the podcast, but I need to get him in this where we can film it. And, and everybody can be reminded how ugly he is. I love Neal. Love him. Did you know that Neal gets to judge who gets to be a Cowboys cheerleader?
I had no idea that Neal was part of that group.
Me either. But see, now Natalie's an executive producer on that Making the Team show because she was a Cowboys cheerleader herself. And she informed us that Neal McCoy. And I'm like, that guy's holding out on us.
He really is. He never brought it up to anybody, did he?
I know.
Didn't want us to know.
I know.
I need to back you up. I am not an executive producer on that show. I'm a producer.
Natalie?
Don't know.
Natalie?
You're going to get me fired.
Okay, please.
But Neal is one of the judges, and he's
producer.
He judged when I tried out, and he's been there for many, many, many years. It's pretty cool.
Didn't you tell me you ran the whole organization?
They can't get him to go.
No,
He won't leave.
He won't leave. They just take the keys from the building. But okay, let's talk about how's the state of affairs in Fort Worth, Texas. First of all, and I'm not kidding when I say it, I moved here 20 years ago, and to me, it is the center of the universe.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think the greater Tarrant County area with Fort Worth and Arlington and the other mid-cities in there, it is a great place to live. It's a great place to work and have a business. And things from that perspective, the economy is great. In fact, we've got more infrastructure going on in the northeast sector of the county and economic development than 34 states combined in the United States. Wow. So there's a lot of things happening in Fort Worth. In the law enforcement field, we're doing a lot. We got a booming jail population that we're concerned about, and trying to figure out what's going on there. And we're also mitigating a new memo of understanding with ICE.
Mm. So what are we seeing as far as the trafficking of illegals that come through our area, through this area? Because I know we hear a lot about border crisis, but what are we dealing with here?
Well, I tell you, this morning I had a jail population of 4,300. 8% of those people are going to be illegal aliens that committed criminal offenses here in Tarrant County. And out of those 8%, we're not talking about no driver's license or that kind of thing, or traffic charges. We're talking about capital murder. You know, we've got cartel hitmen. We've got cartel drug dealers. We've got sexual assaults against children. Some pretty evil crimes. And out of that group of illegal aliens, 82% are repeat offenders. Mm-hmm. That means that they have other criminal histories. They just hadn't got caught and deported.
Right. You know, and I've been below the border numerous times in my life, some for respectable causes and others for not so much. But it's a different world in Mexico, and it's I know everybody goes on vacation to places like Cozumel or Cabo or things like that, but when you're trying to, that's not. The resort towns aren't the rest of the country. Now, those can be dangerous enough.
Yes.
And so when you have folks that are operating by a whole different set of laws and legalities and rules of the street, and then they're going to come here in our cities, so it's a big change.
It's a huge change. And a bunch of sheriffs we went down to the border here a couple of months ago down to McAllen, where at that time 1,000 people a day was coming across the border claiming asylum. Mm-hmm. And now it's up to about 1,200 or 1,300. The cartel owns the other side of the Rio Grande, mm-hmm. and you pay passage to go past there. These people are it's a big business. You can rent a kid and be a whole family, and so that you get quicker processes. And there's a lot of evil boldly walking along that border. If we're not careful, our border areas will turn into third world countries.
Right, yeah, and I think we're seeing some of that. Now, I want you to take a good long look at Party Foul Steve over your shoulder right here, sitting in the peanut gallery. Have you ever seen him on a wanted poster?
Never.
Well, I need to study him a little bit longer. He looks familiar.
He grows the hair out trying to be incognito, but I'm telling you, you shave that head, he could probably look like a cartel member. He could look like, just give him a tan and a bandana on his head.
Maybe he'll go with me when I leave. Maybe we'll just run a few things.
I'm good.
Yeah, you're offering a whole new selective service alternative to Uber.
There you go.
No outstanding warrants.
Drive you right downtown. Now, the last time, so I was in your office. We went to lunch one day, and I was in your office, and your office, of course, which, first of all, I had no idea that's where the office was, in that building. Is that Taylor?
On Taylor Street.
Yeah. So, but you looked over the one of the jail facilities, but one of them you said was empty, wasn't it?
Yeah, one of our old jails is actually a block over from our office, and it's the old Belknap jail, and it's not occupied right now. It's depopulated. It's ready to go if we need it.
Really?
It's
that's what. Yeah, and that's what I was going to ask you, because I wouldn't know if it was inhabitable or it had been condemned or something.
Absolutely,
like that.
We can.
You got places to put everybody.
We try, because you never know when you might run into Steve,
or someone like him.
That's right.
Yeah. No, and that's the fascinating thing to me is, everybody wants to complain and they say, well, the current administration's putting kids in cages and this is the kind of thing that's going on. We know everybody can read through all the minutia there. But here's the thing, man. You come over here and break the law, you're going to put them in a cage.
That's right.
You're going to put them in a jail cell.
That's right.
Is that inhumane? No, don't break the law.
That's right. And we're going to separate them from their family, which I'm accused of often. Right. But I've got 4,200 other people over there I've separated from their family too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But you're exactly right. Now, I'll tell you a funny story that I don't think I've ever told you this before. A couple of years ago, this was right after the election. How long have you been in office now?
2.5 years.
Man, time flies.
Doesn't it, though?
I remember, man, I was so happy when I found out you were running, because we needed change. And I was so happy when I just saw the groundswell of support that you were getting.
It was incredible.
You were the right man for the job at the right time. And then, of course, with the election, it was great. And it was fantastic because the incumbent, it was, on his 4th term?
Yes, sir.
And it was just time for a change. Things need to be done differently. And we don't need to get into all that. But a lot of people came out and worked on that campaign. Some people of note. I was on the phone with Aaron Norris.
Right.
Of course, is Chuck Norris's brother. And Aaron told me, he said the closest the Norris brothers ever came to dying together, or dying, was working on your campaign. Because they jumped on the plane, and Chuck was flying it, and they came through a storm, and they both thought they were going down. They said, we're doing all this for Bill Waybourn.
That is a true story, and they came through. Rick Perry was supposed to be there that night. Governor Perry, the former governor, who was then a presidential candidate, he canceled his flight because it was so dangerous. But the Norrises came ahead and got him. But I mean, it was Chuck Norris.
Yeah.
But Gina Norris, when she saw me, she hugged me so tight, and she said she's a praying woman. But she was in the spirit praying very hard on that plane ride.
He said, this is the closest we ever came to dying. I remember you called me, Jade, my wife and I, we were down in, I think we were in Daytona, Florida or something like that. We were having a good redneck vacation. And you called me on the phone. You said, hey, Chuck Norris is having his event that he has in April, and would you be interested in, I think, emceeing that event or whatever? And I said, I've already got an event. I won't be there. And so you and I talked, and then I got off the phone, and my wife said, what happened? I said, I think I just signed a death warrant. She said, what? And I said, I just said no to Chuck Norris.
Exactly. But here you are, live and well.
Here I am.
Yeah, that's right.
Hey, I love you, Chuck.
Yeah.
We need to get him out of Navasota and up here on this show sometime.
I agree.
Yeah, he doesn't leave the ranch, though. He's just down there bottling water.
Yeah, he's down there bottling water. Yeah.
But you did. I mean, that. Let's talk a little bit about that. That support that you got through that. What do you attribute all that to?
You know, I think it was just a God thing. I don't know how to explain it. You know, I mean, I met great people, and I knew the Norrises for a while. But I do think that people really, really wanted change, and we were running on just a few things. Hey, we are going to protect our citizens by setting up good intel. We're going to protect our citizens by standing up against immigration issues, and we're going to allow the Tarrant County Sheriff's Office to enforce laws. We're going to be a rule of law county. And we said we were going to do all that, and people seemed to love it, seemed to like that idea that we were going to impartially enforce law.
Yeah. You've been, and as you said, so we're working now on ReElection.
Yes, sir.
And what do you think the prospect of the days ahead looks like for you? I know how I feel about it.
Well, I think that they look pretty good. I believe that Tarrant County is still a strong urban conservative county, and I believe that we will know a little bit more in December when we see who files and see who wants to come out. But we have been reaching across the aisles. We've been in the Democratic precincts, and we've been out there being of service to them, and we've been a total sheriff's agency. And one of the big things that people seem to appreciate about what we're doing is, quite frankly, in our reentry programs. We're up to 30 reentry programs for the people coming out of our jail, where we're setting the table for when there are neighbors again to have an opportunity to come back in and be productive citizens.
Yeah. See, that's again back when we start talking about Party Foul Steve again. See, I'm trying to get him reintroduced into civilization. I mean, we always joke about Steve joined the Marines because he had no choice. It was that or prison. So
I made a good choice.
You made a pretty good choice.
I'd probably still be in prison.
I'm so happy that when we go to shows all across this country that I can introduce him to my friends that are veterans or active duty military. I say, hey, Steve's a Marine, and I don't have to say he's a felon.
Yeah.
It's so much more crowd pleasing to be able to introduce him as a Marine. But you were Air Force.
I was.
And I mean, you were born in like what, 1921? I mean, my
Something
God,
like that.
You've been around forever.
22. Yeah, I've been around forever. I really, really have. That's what my kids say. You've been here forever. Tell me about the olden days.
But you were in the Air Force, and then you started law enforcement at an early age.
I did.
Over in Dalworthington Gardens. How did that come about?
Well, actually, it was during my time in Air Force when I was in security forces, and security police is what we called them then. And then I had an opportunity to go to the Texas A&M Police Academy. Mm-hmm. So I went through that academy and got introduced and became a part-time officer while I was still in the Air Force for Dalworthington Gardens. And then later, and when I got out, I became a full-time officer.
Yeah. How old were you then?
21 and 22, respectively.
Right.
I got out when I was 21 and went to work right after I turned 22 full-time for Dalworthington.
And then they made you the chief of police at the age of 24, right?
That is correct.
Wow.
I don't know what they were drinking that night. It was just amazing. A well-educated group, and they said, we want you to be chief. And I thought, man, they got into the evidence locker or something. I don't know what they were thinking.
But you stuck in there. I mean, you were like a hair in a biscuit. I mean, they couldn't run you out once you were in.
I served as chief for 31 years, and I was director of the fire and the police and the emergency services there. I had a great time. It was some of the best days of my life.
Yeah. And you're still a citizen over there.
Yes, I am.
You're still a resident. I want to move over there.
We want you there.
If I had my way, every time we go visit Allison, my wife and I, I'm in my head, I'm house hunting. I'm looking over there. I'd love to live over there.
Well, we'll find a place for you. We'd love to have you. We'd love to have Jade there.
Yeah, we got to. I know, right? Yeah, we'll come over for the barbecue. I have friends all the time. They're like, "Aren't you friends with Sheriff Waybourn?" I'm like, "Pretty good friends." I said, and they're like, "Does he know how crazy you are?" And so I said, "No, that's the old Chad. I'm reformed these days, but I am saving up my favors." We got to get you reelected because since you've been in office, I hadn't called in a single one.
Yeah. I need to call one in December.
You did?
No, I need to for December. Tyler graduates with his criminal justice degree.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah,
if he doesn't make it in the FBI,
well, we've got a place.
Yeah, Tyler's a good kid, but no. So I'm looking forward to this the reelection process. Do you find that? Because you were done with law enforcement. I mean, you were done. You were retired, right?
Well, I retired actually to run for the sheriff's office, and I'd retired in 2015 as chief, and then my full-time job was running for office.
How did that suit you, getting into the game of politics with this?
Well, it was. I'd a lot rather sometimes face 4 armed robbery suspects shooting at me than some of the politicians, because politics is a weary sport, and a lot of people out there that you don't know what their agenda is, and you're trying to do what you think is the right thing, and then all of a sudden they have a subparagraph that they need done.
Right.
It's always interesting.
It is, and I'm thankful that you have, you're not only big in stature, you're big in spirit, and you've held up very well in that. You're a man of integrity, and I've always appreciated that. And when I met you, I think we met over breakfast one morning, and I said, "Oh yeah, it's no problem with me, supporting you." And I was really appreciative of what was coming and what I saw coming on that, because I knew you were going to have that and handle it, and you did in a big way. But it's being in the public eye and it in the poll of public opinion constantly is wearying. I know it's got to be exhausting. How's your family hold up with all of that?
They're really doing well. In fact, my son Lucas says to tell you hello. But they're doing well, and they're steaming off, and they're doing the things that they should be doing, and I have to pay attention to managing my time to make sure that I'm there and this, that, and the other. But you're right. I remember that breakfast with you, and I remember thinking about getting your support, and we were elated that you came on and you helped out. And
I was afraid, the long arm of the Norris family, law might come get me if I didn't sign on. So, I was happy to do it. And you've always been I want to tell another funny story before I forget it. I remember when we did that, you had the fundraiser event at the old, what was that music venue place called over there? Was it Lone Oak? Live Oak? Or something, whatever it was.
Yes.
And Randy Travis was there, and Jay Novacek was there, and too many names to list. Just a lot of people there. Sonny and Jolie were there again. And I remember they wanted to auction off your hat, and they wanted everybody to sign it. And I remember that look of fear in your eyes about, this is my hat. And I looked at you and I said, we'll get you another hat.
That was probably the scariest part of the campaign. And Jay Novacek looked at me and he says, I don't think you can do that. I don't think you can auction off your hat. And then you said, we'll get you. And Tuff Hedeman was there.
Tuff Hedeman, that's right. Yeah.
And that was a great night. And that was a fun night. It was a fun night. That was a real fun night.
Yeah, but I remember that your eyes got big as saucers with you because you said, can I do that? And I said, we'll get you another hat.
Yes, you did. That was great.
I wonder what happened to that hat. You probably know.
I do. That hat is hanging in Colorado in a cabin up there of the guy who bought it. And he talks to me about it every time. He says, I look at the signatures on there all the time. It brings your name up and Randy's up and all that.
Yeah, the thing was loaded up. But but that was a fun time. So you've always been you're an advocate as well. And that's what I think a lot of people may not realize. You're an advocate for adoptive services.
Absolutely.
And that's a big debate we have here on this show. We're very proud supporters of life, and we believe, we're very anti-abortion, and we're very much pro-life here. We talk about that, and we often have that argument raised up about people saying, well, what are you going to do with these quote-unquote unwanted babies that are born? Yeah. And my contention is there's no such thing as an unwanted baby. There's people out there.
There are people out there for the babies. Yeah. It gets a little bit dicier when we see the older kids need to be adopted. Right now in the greater Tarrant County area, we got 400 children ready for adoption. Mm-hmm. But they're all older children. Most of them are older children, and some of them are sibling groups. And we're advocating. In fact, Taya Kyle and I are going to be speaking at some churches around Tarrant County in the near future, trying to encourage people to solidify their marriage and to adopt children.
Yeah. What's the process for doing that?
Well, there's a couple of different ones. Is that if you go to All Church Homes, which is a great group, or Gladney, or Fort Worth Hope, another great group. Sure. Is if you go to those groups, you have to become a licensed foster care family, and then they select the children, help select. So it's a long process, but the cost is minimal. It's only about $250 to $300. So after these kids. And then the second group, there's a group out of Burleson, a matter of fact, called Addie's Hope. Yep. And Addie's Hope trains you up where you need to be. You don't have to get licensed to foster. You can adopt directly, and that's a $250 cost. And these kids have came out of homes, broken homes, and where parents are sometimes in prison, sometimes their rights have been terminated for various reasons, and they need hope. They need second chances. They need that home forever.
Yeah. We're still trying to find a home for Steve, to be honest with you. Natalie, y'all are Tarrant County, aren't you?
We are.
You're in South Lake? Mm-hmm. How bad's the crime in South Lake? There's got to be a lot of problems up there.
There's crime.
There's a little bit, but they're pretty isolated and pretty nice place to live. And,
and white-collar crime up there, isn't it, Natalie?
Well, my house got hit by a car.
Oh, have you seen that? You need to show the sheriff that video when we get done of the security camera. I mean, they got
he was going 75 miles an hour.
How much?
75.
It hit her house.
When he hit the house.
And then walked off.
He did.
Wow.
He ran. We caught him, though.
He ran. I don't know how people... Okay, let's talk about this. In 900 years of your law enforcement experience, how... You've had to see some crazy things.
I've seen quite a few crazy things.
Off the top of your head, do you have like a couple of things that I always hate when people put me on the spot like that? So no pressure.
Yeah.
But like, I could tell you stories about Steve. But you had to have seen. People are nuts, and they're getting crazier.
They are. We put people in jail that, I remember putting people in jail that thought he was in Bossier City. He lived in Bossier City, and he was intoxicated, and he says, this doesn't look like Bossier City Police Department, and no, it's not. It's you're in Dalworth Gardens, Texas, and he did not believe us at all. It was kind of a funny deal.
That is party time, Mom. Listen, whenever you get to a point where you're so obliterated and drunk that your party started in Bossier City, and it ended in Dalworthington Gardens.
That's a pretty good jump. And, I've had funny stuff happen on traffic stops where people have jumped out and had a guy jump out of the car one day on me and point his finger at me. And he says, officer, before you say a word, I want you to know that Bill Waybourn and I are best friends.
That's classic.
And I wasn't on my game. I should have been on my game and said, yes, he had me stop you to collect that money you owe him. But no, I didn't think of that.
That's perfect. That's so funny.
So this guy that hit the house, he got out of his vehicle and he left. Of course, he left everything in the vehicle. We probably all know why he left the vehicle. Didn't want to get arrested right then. But you'll never guess how we caught him that night. Because you know what because he was in a field somewhere, called his friend, come pick me up, which is a good friend. But he made a mistake, and I think it's what they all do. He did a drive-by, and I happened to catch him looking at the damage he did. And I ran back to the officer, and I said, I think that's your guy right there. So 2 guys in a vehicle at 4 a.m. in South Lake, Texas, doing it didn't make a lot sense.
Never return to the scene of the crime.
No.
Yeah, you got to go home.
Yeah.
Dumb outlaws make us look really good. and we appreciate that.
Sure.
And we encourage it. And, one night we had a woman that was stopped, and she rolled down her window, and I was with the officer. I was in the near proximity. And he said, I need to see your driver's license and insurance. And she hands out the window and says, would you hold this? And it was a joint. Would you hold this while I'm looking? So, people do silly things and that kind of thing.
So when you held it.
Hold my joint and watch this.
Yeah.
Now, we've, as you well know, we try to do whatever we can using our platform to support law enforcement. Anybody that's going to put on a uniform every day with a badge and go out there and be that proverbial thin blue line and stand as people who are going to serve and protect. You have always, in any segment of any population, in any job, occupation, anything like that, you're going to have your bad apples. And those are the ones, unfortunately, that get all the limelight and the attention. And everybody wants to put a negative spin or light on law enforcement these days. And it really perturbs me. Look, I've been on the wrong side of the law in my life. I've had my episodes, sure. But at no time did I come away with a sense of bitterness with law enforcement. I still want to support them. There's good people out there who are doing this job.
Oh, my goodness, there are. And I tell you, and that's well known that Chad Prather is a big supporter of law enforcement, and I can't tell you how much we appreciate it. 99% of the police officers that you run into today, regardless of where they're at in the greater North Texas area, are outstanding, noble people who are answering a calling, and it's a sacred calling that they're answered, and they believe that they are at a divine appointment, doing what they do, willing to give all. They're willing to. They don't have any problem running into burning buildings or running into where the gunfire is coming from, and they're making hundreds of decisions in just split seconds.
Sure.
That the public and the courts will take months and weeks and sometimes years to figure out.
I remember, and it's been probably a year and a half ago, this video that came out where they took one of the head of Black Lives Matter, the organization, and they put him through a course of reaction. Like, okay, who would you shoot in this scenario? He shot everybody.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, every time something jumped out from behind the car, boom, he was shooting it.
That's why I'm not a cop.
Split second. He was shooting everything. But, I mean, that's the whole thing. You guys, I mean, they do. They have to do it. They go into scenarios and situations. I pray for them all the time. We do. I don't say that lightly. I don't say that cliche. We pray every day for our law enforcement. We do as a family. And the reason we do is because it's a job I would never want to do. I like you said, it's a calling.
Right.
I would never want to do it. I considered it at one point in time. And when I was a young man, I was like, "Is this something
I can see that?"
And I thought, "Is this something I want to do?" And I thought, "I don't believe this for me." And various reasons why I'd be shooting everybody. So I'd be that guy in the thing. But here we go.
My son made up his mind at 4 years old.
Yeah, yeah.
And my dad was a police chief in my hometown. He was a law enforcement for 30 some odd years.
Yeah. That's still legacy.
It skipped me. I didn't want no part of it, but he's had it since he was 4.
I know. You're like me. I'm always talking about, wow, Grapevine's got a nice jail. They don't treat you like animals in here. I mean, I told him, I was like, you guys are really hospitable. He said, we try to be. So, but we pray for them every day. I see these guys in the dead of night on the side of the highway, vehicles flying past with no regard, 75, 85 miles an hour. They're walking up on a vehicle. They have no idea what they're about to encounter. Right. And you just, we had a law enforcement officer that was killed over the weekend. And I didn't get that. I've been out of the country, so I didn't. That was where Grand Prairie.
It was Grand Prairie. A.J. Casanata, former Tarrant County Sheriff's deputy.
Mm-hmm. So. And that's you see these things, and you get to a point where we live in a day and an age where you see another headline, and you're like, well, it's just another day in the life of the world we live in. But these things, they really shouldn't be.
They really shouldn't. We should take pause every time we lose an officer.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I say all the time, there are two professions that should make way more than they make, and they should probably be harder to be oftentimes, and that is law enforcement and public school teachers.
Yes, I agree with you.
You know what I'm saying? And it's quite a heavy honor and sacred duty to put that badge on.
Is most of the people, or 99% of the people I know in law enforcement, feel exactly like that. They feel like it's an honor and it's a sacred duty, and they want to do it. And I've got to travel part of the world, not all the world, but everywhere I've been, I would measure up the North Texas police agencies to any agency in the world. There are a lot of good, noble people doing a lot of good things.
It's been my pleasure to get to know a lot of them, and those men and women, and I think you're doing a fantastic job with it. And I know that, where was it? We did an article this past week on one of my sites where, oh gosh, I'm ashamed now. I don't know if I should say the name of the store, but it's in the thing. It was a Zales jeweler, and they didn't want the police officer to come in to the store, and they want purchases made by him or with him there because he had a firearm. And I thought, now who are they going to call if somebody breaks in and steals their crappy diamonds? I mean, that's the weird hypocrisy of the whole thing.
It really, really is, and I don't understand that at all. When I've heard these stories of people don't want cops in there, and I'm thinking, who do you want?
Right, exactly. What's the future looking like for Tarrant County?
I think it's bright. I think that it is a great place to live and work, as I said. I think it's a great place to invest. We're doing a lot of things right. There's a few things that we probably need to iron out. But I think as a whole, Tarrant County is going to grow, and if we see each other a year from now or 2 years from now, which we will, I'm sure, and you're going to see Tarrant County as one of the top urban counties in the nation.
Yeah.
We're third largest in Texas right now, 15th largest in the country, and growing, and we'll probably be at 13 within the decade.
I know that, of course, there's always that rivalry between Dallas and Fort Worth. Granted, Dallas doesn't really know they're in a rivalry, but the folks in Fort Worth certainly do. And so a lot of times people will refer to Fort Worth as being Dallas. And I like to say that we're 40 miles apart geographically. We're 1,000,000 miles apart culturally in a big way. And that's not to say anything negative about Dallas. I have grown to appreciate Dallas. Mm-hmm. Certain aspects I still makes me not want to go there. It's like my old friend says, if I die in Dallas, drag my dead body back across the Tarrant County line. But Fort Worth has become a very cosmopolitan city.
Yes, but it's also still the biggest small city in America.
Right.
When you're downtown, you feel like you're still in a small city, and that's the way the people treat it. But yeah, I agree. There's a rivalry going on between those two counties, and Dallas often forgets it. People say, hey, are you going to Dallas County? And I said, well, I have to make sure I have enough magazines and a major caliber weapon, but yes.
I remember the old stories of Amon Carter, who, of course, is a historic person from Fort Worth, and whenever he would go to Dallas, he would pack a sack lunch because he was bound and determined he was never going to spend a dime in Dallas. Now, that's strong right there.
That's strong. I'm not that strong. There's some great people in Dallas and great attributes of Dallas, Texas.
Yeah, it's a fun rivalry. And I always joke, I think I did a video about this, about our sister cities, and we all like to make fun of our sister cities in Texas, but we're still family.
Oh, absolutely.
That's the beauty of Texas. I was conceived in Dallas, and my old joke is my parents did a dirty thing in a horrible place. So if I believe that life begins at conception, I'm a Dallasite, whatever you want to call that. So, hey, the hometown crowd. But no, Fort Worth has held on to its culture and its heritage in a big way. Everybody loves going down to the stockyards. You could still ride a horse anywhere in town you want to go.
Right.
And the misconception around the country is they think we ride our horses to work every day. And some do. But, I can remember doing a horseback interview with the mayor on Main Street years ago. And, you can do things like that.
you can do things like that. I ride horses often, and in the greater Fort Worth area, and in part of the Tarrant County Sheriff's Office, we have full-time cowboys.
Right.
That they're out there.
Yeah, still have the mounted police.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's a great place to be.
It really is. I love it. They're great places to eat, great places to stay. I encourage everybody in Fort Worth. And I encourage everybody that can vote in Tarrant County to vote for you this next election cycle. And
Chad,
I know
I have a fun memory about Fort Worth.
Here we go.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't say fun. It was memorable for sure. But it's when I learned about how powerful that county was. I was an intern at WFAA Channel 8 in 2000. And I was wrapping up with Brett Shipp. He was my mentor. Yeah. And we were, what? We were
I'm just watching you.
We were about to leave, and the tornado hit that went through. You don't hear about tornadoes hitting downtown often, but this one just ripped through downtown. And so what I thought our day was over, it was not over. And that was right. I don't remember if you remember, Sheriff, but maybe around 4 or 5 o'clock, we got back in the vehicle and headed that way, obviously to cover the story, but just to see the recovery effort of Fort Worth, Texas, and everybody band together, because it was horrible. It was a very scary moment, and it ripped that city apart very quickly after they just spent a lot of money even updating and just making it even more beautiful. To see that city pull back together was really tremendous.
They came incredibly together after that event, and they did put that city back together, and it was horrific downtown. It looked like a bomb had gone off downtown.
Yeah, windows were gone.
We couldn't you couldn't go into downtown because of the glass that was coming off those high-rise buildings. It would just slit you in two. It was horrible. But also I saw Dallas pull together for Fort Worth as well, because you talk about that fun rivalry, but from boots to suits, they came together to help make this Metroplex great.
Yeah. They really did. And those things is why we have fun with each other when they're great neighbors.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I have always my entire life, and it's my hyperactivity, I've always lived with a sense of restlessness. I've always said over the years, living in other places, I said I always have the sense of homesickness. No matter where I go, I just feel kind of homesick. It took moving to Fort Worth, honestly, into that area 20 years ago for that to be settled in me. And it became home. And as much as I travel all around this country, it will always be home. I love it here. And no, I'm not moving to Hollywood. They keep trying to get me out there, and I'm not doing it.
Well, I can see that. You need to be you go out there and just do business and get back home as quickly as you can.
Last summer I was doing that. I would get on a plane, fly out there for a 30-minute meeting, and go back to LAX and fly back out here again. Oh, my
goodness.
That was my commute for about 3 months back and forth out there. It was miserable.
There's a great John Wayne movie, and I'm trying to remember the name of it, but in the movie, one of the lines is Texas is to men, it's like a beautiful woman. Once you get there, you never want to leave.
Pretty much true.
Yeah.
Pretty much true. And that when you think about that, I'm going to ask you a couple more questions while I got you. Do you see, for the first time ever, Tarrant County voted blue in the last election between Cruz and Beto O'Rourke, Robert Francis. Which was alarming to me.
Yes.
That happened. Do you see everybody's talking about so many people from California migrating out of there, they're coming to Texas. It's a great place to live.
Right.
And look, California exists to take your money away. We live in a state that doesn't have state income tax. You can come over here, you can do business. So goes Texas, so goes the rest of the country. That's the old adage. We're the last to go into economic recession, the first one to come out of it. It's a powerful place. It's an economy unto itself. It's a big place. But are you seeing that trend with the Californians coming over, and then they vote according to the way things messed up California?
They do. It's a funny thing. They come over here and they say, boy, we had to get out of California and let me vote blue again to take it back. But yes, we do see some of that. But we're also seeing people show up and go, finally, people that think like us.
Right.
So we are seeing some good people come from there. We're seeing people come back down here from Colorado, from Illinois, and when I see them, and I know when you do, is that listen, don't bring your values with you
Yeah.
assimilate to ours.
Exactly.
And Beto is not a great representative of Texas, as our friend Coffee Anderson said. I don't know what John Deere Uber he came into town on.
Coffee's funny. Coffee, got to get you on the show, buddy. We keep threatening to do it, and we keep missing each other. I love that guy. Yeah. He's so funny. But we do see that trend, and it's a little bit scary. And I know that there's a lot of folks out there, young folks, that think they're doing the right thing and being a little more progressive. But that's you use the perfect word. You got to assimilate. You got to if you're going to come into a place, you got to assimilate. And that's true. People coming across the border. And I don't care where you're coming from. I'm not just talking about Mexico or Central America. I'm talking about people that are coming from, you can't come in here and implement Sharia law.
That's right.
As a Muslim, that violates the concept violates the Constitution.
That's exactly right.
People say, well, if you're telling us you're telling people they got to assimilate. That's everything from racist to xenophobic or what. No, it's American or it's Texan. Right. If you're going to come into a place, if I'm coming into your house and you say, hey, take your boots off, I'm going to take my boots off.
Exactly.
You have your reasons for doing things in your home, and I'm going to go by it, or I don't have to come to your house.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Anyway, it's a crazy world we live in.
It is a crazy world, and when I talked about illegal aliens being held in our jail, it's surprisingly how many are from the Middle East, from China, from Eastern Europe. I mean, we've got Slovakians, we've got Chinese, we've got other Asians, we've got Middle Easterners. So that, a lot of people think it's just the Hispanics. It's not.
Right. No, it's not. In fact, one of the news reports, again, on one of my sites this week was how many people from the Congo are coming across the southern border. And you think, well, how in the world does that happen? I mean, from the Congo, that's Africa.
Absolutely, they're here.
It's crazy. And they're bringing Ebola with them. There's been cases of confirmed Ebola. Situations we're in, got a show in San Antonio coming up at the end of this week, and they got confirmed cases of that going on. Anyway.
Well, and that's awful. And last week when you were in Ireland, there was a guy that was arrested overseas that he was an ISIS agent, and his whole mission was to come up across our border to cause mayhem among our finances. Yeah. I mean, it's happening. It's all the way around. We've got to secure that border.
Well, thank God for law enforcement. Thank God for folks like you. Because my personal belief, and you and I have talked about this before, Donald Trump's not coming to my house to help me regulate my community. He's not going to do it. Neither is anybody else in Washington, D.C. Dan Crenshaw, he's a friend and a friend of the family. Ted Cruz, the same way. Those congressmen and those senators, they're not coming here to help us legislate our lives. We take care of our homes. We take care of our communities. And thank God we got folks like you and the law enforcement agencies that we've got in Tarrant County and the sheriffs of Tarrant County that just, these folks, they're our line of defense. They're our folks, the ones that represent us. And so I'm thankful that men like you and women that are out there, that are doing the job they're doing.
I'm honored to be doing it.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you. Concealed handgun. You still doing the concealed handgun classes?
Every now and then I do them.
I was wondering if you had time to still do those.
Every now and then.
Teaching and instructing. And Of course, you can. I don't know if you know this or not, but Natalie's husband and her brother-in-law, Joseph is her husband, and Jared's her brother-in-law, Stanier. They have Texas gun experience.
They have DFW shooting sports.
DFW shooting sports, which is that Richland Hills?
Bedford.
Mm-hmm. So great gun store. I spent more money than I'm going to admit 2 weeks ago in there because my wife's going to watch this program. Uh-huh. She knows I spend a lot of money on guns, but this was astronomical.
Oh boy.
But they're opening in Grapevine. They're opening the Texas gun experience. I always want to get the names confused, which is going to be a machine gun range,
right,
in Grapevine. So yeah, but they'll do CHL over there, and great folks. But I was going to ask you, do you think Texas? I know Oklahoma recently did it. You think we should be a constitutional carry state? What's your opinion on that?
I think it's coming. I think there's a lot of hesitation among law enforcement, but I think it's really coming because the gun laws have really lightened up anyway in Texas. Sure. I mean, you can carry it in your car, you can carry it in your business, and of course in your home. So that's probably just the next step. And there's been about 38 or 40 other states that have done that forever, and there hadn't been any Dodge cities or anything like that. Yeah. So it will probably, it's kind of an evolution, and I think when Texas is ready, it'll do it, and it'll be just fine.
Yeah, I never knew, and I'm still not sure how I feel. I believe in freedom and liberty, first of all. And so, open carry, I don't know how I felt about all that stuff. I mean, I'm personally not going to open carry. Right. I don't have any need to, do that. And
I recommend against it all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just not going to make myself a target like that or anything. I just don't think it's the smartest thing to do. But how often are people getting checked for those licenses? I mean, they really don't.
I really
Texas.
don't think. I really don't think that that's happening much. You know, my friends.
Now, if something goes down and you shoot somebody,
well, then we're going to ask you questions.
Yeah, that's a different deal.
Yeah. And but I have friends all the time on the East Coast, you know, in Massachusetts and New York, and especially Mass. You know, they've given me a hard time. So everybody in Texas carries guns, and I said, well, we do. And in fact, if you stop at our registration points when we come into Texas, or welcome to Texas places, if you don't have one, we'll give you one. You know, we're pro gun down there. And those folks from Mass are having a hard time with that. And I said, but you guys got to remember, we got ranches bigger than your entire state.
That's right.
So,
see, I got my fanny pack over there, and everybody wants to make fun of me because I wear my fanny pack.
Yeah.
But I keep something in it to take care of the people that make fun of me.
There you go. There you go.
So I don't worry about it. Sheriff, thanks for coming on here.
Oh, it's been such a pleasure and fun time to be with you, Chad. It's always fun to be with you.
It is fun. We don't see each other enough. We need to do lunch soon because you buy and I enjoy that.
Yes.
What's the best way folks can help support you?
Go to Bill Waybourn for Sheriff.
And that is WAYBOURN.
That is correct.
Right? Yeah. I know some people want to misspell that sometimes, and then I start second guessing myself. But
WAYBOURN.
Yeah. And so find him online. He's on social media as well.
Yes, sir.
And you're very transparent, and I appreciate when you take the risk and share some of my stuff out there. And I'm like,
oh no, I'm honored to do it.
I love it when politicians share my stuff. It shows me that they got cojones.
And what do we want to do? We want to bring the light to the truth.
That's right.
And just put it out there and say, hey, this is what's going on. Think about this for a minute.
Yeah, that's what we try to do. I just try to wrap it in a little bit of humor and make it an easier pill to swallow. And it's something this day and age, it's hard to do.
It really
Everybody's
is.
so sensitive. Thank you for doing what you do, and we appreciate you. We really do. And I'm looking forward to the next event. And they didn't let us drink whiskey at the last one. This TX guys, Leonard and Troy, I got to get on to them.
Yeah.
Bless their hearts. That's a beautiful place over there.
It is a gorgeous place, isn't it?
Yeah, got some of their stuff back there.
Well, there you
somewhere.
go. Yeah, I guess you do.
TX, they're longtime friends. Longtime friends. Sheriff, thanks for coming on. And,
thanks for having me.
Best wishes and good fortune in the upcoming election that's going to be there. I'm telling you, get out there. Tarrant County, got to vote. Got to vote the right way. And when I say right way, I mean the right way. Okay. So for the Chad Prather Show, Studio 22, Party Foul Steve, Hot News Natalie, and of course the Puppet Master Mark. And I think probably next time Candice, the Queen of the Ethiopians, will be back in here with us. And for Sheriff Bill Waybourn, Sheriff of Tarrant County, support him every way you can. We love y'all. God bless. Bye.
Bye.